Hey guys, so I'm here with Sector 1 for Conquest 31. This is the series that we are playing to earn Malgus. So pretty straightforward. What we're going to go through is the feats that we need to do for Sector 1. We're also going to have a look at some of the global teams that are working. I have already, if you have not seen it, put out a specific video on the Phoenix global feat. So the one that you need Hera, Cannon, Chopper, Ezra, and Captain Rex to survive the new Marquee unit. So that is already out. I will link it, and that way you can look at that feat specifically if you need it. I'm not going to cover it here. The first thing, though, I do want to point out before we even go look at the Sector 1 feats is the global feat that says you need to defeat 250 enemies, along the golden challenge path. So you can see in the thumbnail, it is those golden nodes that are highlighted along the top and bottom of the challenge path. I exclusively took the challenge path through Sector 1, so I didn't deviate from it at all. And I just want to show you here that I was able to defeat 102 enemies that way in one sector. So take that for what you will in terms of how doable it is. Again, this was going through the top and the bottom of the path, not deviating. And obviously this is going to depend on what kind of teams you're coming up against in the nodes. So I faced a few teams that were troopers, so obviously they revive. You're going to get more kills that way. But roughly, you should be able to get this feat done in theoretically 2.5 sectors if you're not deviating at all. So just wanted to show you that really quickly before we even dive into the feats. So let's look at Sector 1 specifically. So as a reminder, you need to defeat 50 enemies with droid units, win 14 battles with no tanks in your squad, gain defense up 40 times, and attempt to inflict ability block 60 times. Pretty straightforward. You can do a lot of this while you're making your way through the sector. But as usual, let's have a look at some of the videos, some of the team suggestions. You can see what's working for me, and then take that for what you will, make it work for your roster, and we'll have a look at the bosses as well. All right, so the first team I want to highlight is no tanks in your squad. Really straightforward. You obviously just don't want any tanks in there. And I'm going to show you a CLS team specifically, but I want you to look at this Jabba squad if you have it. I'm not going to show you the gameplay. Essentially, it does double dip for no tanks and ability block. You're just taking out Chrysanthemum and putting in Boba. So if you do have that available to you, I would recommend using that as well, since you'll get 2 feats done at once. If not, CLS is really awesome for making your way through Conquest, especially if he is one of the stronger squads that you have available in your roster. You can lean on him pretty reliably. Like I said, this is no tanks. It's really straightforward. You're just going to make your way through here. The only disc that I do have equipped at the moment is a volatile accelerator disc, so nothing too crazy, and it is a gray one. So again, not too obscene in terms of what you're going to be using, but it does get the no tanks feat done really easily. And we can just have a look here, and you'll see we'll just have an extra tick there. So now we're at 2 out of 14. Okay, so the next squad here that I want to show you is droid kills. And you can see for droid kills, we're sitting at 1 kill out of 50. So obviously CLS is great because 3PO's on the squad. 2PO, he's a droid, and he will get you a kill if he happens to get a kill in. It does take a little bit longer because he's the only one on the squad. I do really like using General Grievous. You can have Droidica as the 5th if you want a full droid squad. If your Droidica is not crazy geared, you could also sub in Newt just for some control. Just keep in mind that if Newt does get a kill, that is obviously stealing away from your droid kills. So really straightforward. Again, I've recommended Grievous for a lot in terms of Conquest just because it is such a reliable team to make your way through. Especially, honestly, if you have trouble getting through the Grand Inquisitor nodes or the Starkiller nodes, Grievous works really well against them. So I would highly recommend doing that, especially through Sector 1, since you need the droid kills anyway. All right, so pretty smooth. 3-starred the node, which is great. We don't have to do any cleanup. And we should have gotten, I believe, 4 kills in that node specifically. Yeah, so we're up at 5 to 50. Okay, so let's have a look now at defense up. This is a feat that is pretty much in every Conquest. You can see I'm at 0 to 40. I haven't even attempted it yet. And this is the squad that I use every single time, like clockwork. It just works beautifully. You get it done in one battle and it's over. So you're going to want Clone Wars Chewie as your leader. So go down to your Galactic Republic and take him for your leadership. And then 4 tanks. Any 4 tanks will do. I specifically am going to take Malgus in because of the global feat. If you win a battle with him surviving, obviously we need to do that 40 times. It is extremely rare, to be totally honest with you, to win this battle specifically with Clone Wars Chewie Lead. It has happened in the past, so I'm not going to rule it out. But I'm not going to hold my breath, and spoiler alert, we don't win this, just so you know. But I figure if you're going to take 4 tanks anyway, you might as well take Malgus, because on the off chance you do win, even if it's 1 star and he's left standing, you're going to get credit towards that global feat as well. So anyway, 4 tanks here. They're all getting defense up because of Clone Wars Chewie Lead. It's really straightforward. You just let them get hit. If Clone Wars Chewie does get to take a turn by chance, I would use his second special because it gives him self-defense up. So it's just another tally towards that 40 total that you're looking for anyway, to guarantee that you do get it. If you don't get this in one shot, you generally come pretty close. It's usually in the 35 to 40 range, but it's pretty rare not to do it in one shot. So you can see we're going to lose here. And timeout, that's totally fine. But we get the feat done in one go. And that's really what we wanted. Okay. So again, now another feat that we have to do in this sector is still winning without any tanks in our squad. But we also need to attempt to inflict ability block 60 times. Obviously, Jedi Master Luke can get that done pretty nicely because of his AoE ability block. But if we don't want any tanks in our squad, we're not going to use him. We're also not going to use Old Ben, who has an AoE. But we do want to use Bastilla because she has an ability block on her basic. So you're just going to go in with a Jedi Knight Revan squad. I like Jedi Knight Luke just because he makes this squad considerably more safe, so to speak. And you're able to 3-star the nodes with it and not have to go back and clean up. But essentially, you want Bastilla to basic as many times as possible on her turn. You can see there that I was kind of in autopilot mode and was about to use her special. Again, you want to basic as many times as possible to get her to inflict ability block. If you can call an assist, call Bastilla. So again, she can attempt to inflict ability block and just keep basicing with her. And that way you can work your way up on this feat a little bit while you're making your way through the sector. Again, if you want to get this done faster, I would honestly probably use a Jedi Master Luke lead, just because you would get it done a lot quicker with his AoE, even adding Bastilla to the squad. But if you're really trying to double dip while you're making your way through and you don't want any tanks, this is probably what I would go with personally. And we ended up with 5 from that battle. Okay, so let's have a look at the mini boss. This is the same mini boss from last Conquest, the same enemies, but we do need to win without any Jedi, Sith, or unaligned Force users. And since we also need Clone Trooper wins, full squad Clone Trooper wins for the global feat, I would recommend doing Clone Troopers anytime you pretty much see this feat, assuming they can get the battle done. I do want to take Bad Batch Echo as my 5th here instead of Clone Sergeant, just to kind of give myself a little bit more security. I want to get Nihilus and Vader off the board as soon as possible here. Just because if there are anyone on the squad that is going to mess up my chances of winning or 3-starring the node, etc., it's going to be Nihilus with an Annihilate, and it's going to be Vader with his Merciless Massacre. So if you can get rid of them as quickly as possible, it works really nicely. So again, really straightforward. You're just making your way through the enemies, and then once those 2 are off the board, I felt completely comfortable. I'm basically ignoring Watt. He can't res anybody because there are no separatists here. So I don't see any harm in ignoring him at all. And you're just making your way through the sector or through the boss node. Really straightforward, to be honest. 3-star. You get credit for the feat of no Jedi, Sith, etc. And you also get a tick for your Clone Trooper wins for the global feat that way. Okay, so the alternative side of this mini boss is you also need to win with Kylo Ren unmasked surviving. He obviously is an unaligned Force user, so you have to do this battle twice. And if you know anything about me, you know how much I love Bam Han Chewie for these feats, these survival feats. You do need Volatile Accelerator. If you have Amplify Agony, you want to throw that on. If you have Caustic Emissions, you want to throw that on. I do have Volatile Accelerator equipped, and that is it, because I have not found an Amplify Agony as of yet, as of me attempting this battle. So the Volatile Accelerator is going to feed your team turn meter because of Bam's leadership, and it is a Zeta. You need the Zeta equipped if it's your first time doing this, and that way you can kind of make sure you're taking more turns because of the debuffs going out there. That's why Caustic Emissions works really nicely with this setup as well, because you're feeding them more debuffs, so you're feeding yourself more turn meter in that way. And obviously Amplify Agony does damage for you, so you're able to defeat the enemies a lot faster. Usually, if you have 2 or 3 Amplify Agony equipped, the enemy team doesn't even take a turn. But as you can see, it still works fairly smoothly even with none equipped, assuming your Kylo is at relics. If not, you're going to want to make sure you get the Amplify Agony discs equipped. Okay, so the boss node here. Same idea. We want no Jedi, Sith, etc. And you want Ben Solo specifically to survive, so that this isn't an aligned force user, so you have to do this twice again. I'm going to do the same squad, the Bam Han Chewie squad. The modifier on this battle basically says that if you try to kill the enemy leader, who is Crosshair, you can see here, if you try to kill him first, instead of him dying, somebody else will die in his place. So I'm saving him for the end for that reason, because there's no point in me going after him repeatedly if he's just going to keep kind of saving himself. Again, if you have Ben, you probably have him geared. If you don't have him geared, I would do this once you have the Amplify Agony discs along with Volatile Accelerator. Same thing with the mini boss. That way you're able to feed yourself turn meter. And you can see here that I'm strategically picking who I'm going to go after. The turn order widget is actually really helpful for this type of a battle, because you're able to control the enemies and stun whoever is going to take the next turn, so that you're able to keep taking turns yourself and not have to worry about them taking a turn and accidentally killing your character that needs to survive. So would definitely do that if you need to pop it open. But now let's look at the second half of this boss node. So again, no Jedi, Sith, etc. I do want to use clones still. You could do a General Grievous squad here as well. But again, we have to do clones anyway for globals, so we might as well just use them here. And I am using the 501st with Bad Batch Echo as my 5th. You could do a full Bad Batch squad if you wanted. Could do Clone Sergeant. I just really like having Bad Batch Echo here personally. So I'm going to do the exact same thing here. I'm going to leave Crosshair for the end because I don't want to trigger that leadership ability or that modifier that he has where he's just going to keep saving himself. Because I've already 3-starred the node with the Bam Han Chewie team, I'm also not worried about whether a clone dies or a sacrifice goes off or anything like that. As long as I get the win, I'll be able to get the feat done. But again, it's the same idea as before. You're just going through, killing all the sides before you kill ARC Trooper and saving him for the end. And it's really straightforward. You get the feat done that way. All right, so that is everything for Sector 1. I will be back for Sector 2, hopefully within the next day or so, assuming Jasper cooperates. But so far, pretty straightforward. And like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, if you absolutely need to make that Phoenix squad work, you can make it happen. I do have one specifically for that. So if you need to check it out, by all means do so. It's really short. And hopefully it helps you get the additional 15 points if you need them and get closer to red crate or gold crate, whichever crate you are hoping to achieve. Okay, guys, that is it. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you tomorrow.